Hey everybody, welcome to our Facebook Live. I've got an awesome guest today. I'm not going to introduce her just yet. I'm going to wait for people to join. So, if you have joined already, be sure to drop us a line in the comments, send us your favorite emoji, just say hi, let us know you're here. I forgot what I was going to go. We're just going to let people join for a few minutes. Erin, who is my guest, who I wasn't going to introduce but have now done that.
Surprise!
We have Erin Ruggles today. She'll be our guest, and she'll be talking about her latest blog. Thank you, audience. That was nice. She'll be talking about her latest blog. We're going to let guests join. Let us know you're there. I just want to talk about some random topics that have happened in the last few weeks. Yahoo has rebranded. They have a new logo. Have you seen it?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, Verge had actually said Yahoo redesigned its logo to remind us that they're still alive. And honestly, I'd forgotten about Yahoo. Shout out to you if you're still using your Yahoo email address or your default search engine is Yahoo. You're unique. You're one of a kind. You're a unicorn in a sea of Googlers.
Mm.
You know, Yahoo tried to do a streaming service at one point in time. I don't know if it still exists, but there was a streaming service.
What all did they have on there?
They had one season of Community. That's the only thing I watched on there.
Oh, but they had more stuff on there.
They did have other stuff on there.
Okay.
No, they just had the one season of Community. They're really pulling in those Community fans.
Very limited view.
Oscar said, "Who's the cute guy on the right?" Well, for me, looking left, right, you're the cute guy on the right, Erin.
Thanks, Oscar.
I think he meant me, but that's really sweet of you. Thanks, Oscar. Glad you tuned in, Oscar. Thanks for watching. Loyal fans. Speaking of streaming services, Disney Plus launches on November 12th. They have a pre-order up, and Chelsea signed us up for it already.
Nice.
So,
yeah,
you get all those classic Disney movies. They have the Disney original movies, too. They used to air on the Disney Channel.
Like Cadet Kelly and all those.
Xenon, the Cheetah Girls, which is one of Chelsea's favorites. All right. If you're tuned in, let us know your favorite piece of Disney content. And that's a pretty vast variety of stuff there. You've got Marvel, Star Wars, even The Simpsons are technically owned by Disney now.
I think half the world is owned by Disney.
I think I might be owned by Disney.
Yeah, you are. I'm pretty sure you are.
No, well, the name Zach Morris, that's NBC, the Peacock. They have a show coming out with the Zach Morris character. I don't know who that is. I've never heard of that name. I've never heard any reference to it either. All right. We have waited just enough time. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we have our first and only guest for the day, Erin Ruggles of the content department here at ROI Online. Thanks for coming on the show, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. The audience is really glad you're here.
They always get very excited.
So today you're talking about your latest blog that's come out last week, the 4 things your website needs to pass the Grunt test. What's the Grunt test?
That is an excellent question. So if you're familiar with StoryBrand at all, you've probably heard of the Grunt test. And if you aren't, it's basically just a system that you use StoryBrand for any website content, where when someone goes through and scrolls through your website in 5 seconds, they should be able to grunt out what your website does. So if you had a caveman or the average person who maybe isn't quite the brightest read your site, they'll still be able to figure out what you do and be able to grunt that out.
So, now that we've established what the Grunt test is, how do we set that up? How do we make that happen? How do we make our messaging simple enough for people to understand in just 8 seconds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people try to cram too much into their sites and then you can't understand it. So what I found to be one of the most important things to do is to focus on your tagline. And your tagline is going to be the first thing that people see when you go on your site. It's usually above the fold, which means when you first pull up your computer and you see the first half of a website page or the first little bit, that would be above the fold. And so the tagline is just going to be right there, the first thing people see. You want that to be super clear.
Okay. So do you have any examples of maybe a tagline that you can make me guess what it's for?
I do. So I forgot it word for word, but something like "healthy lives here." is the tagline. And try to think about what the person who or the company that has that tagline might do.
I would honestly think they're a nutrition company or some kind of medical service, maybe. Helping people get healthy lives back on track. I don't know.
Well, it's actually Anytime Fitness. So that tagline was for a gym.
Oh.
You couldn't tell that at all just
No.
from reading those few words.
They definitely missed the mark. What do you think is a way that how would you recommend to make that tagline better?
I would do something that's a little clearer. If you still wanted to be creative and use that healthy, you could say something like, healthy is just a membership away. And that would help people figure out pretty quickly, oh, membership, we're talking about a gym here, but still have that really positive feel to it.
Right. That makes much more sense than what they originally had. That's clearer. It calls them to action too, which is a really important thing. So with that tagline, you mentioned that tagline being above the fold. What else is above the fold, and what kind of ties that tagline together?
The imagery behind that tagline is going to be probably just as important as the tagline itself. That'd be that big hero image. And typically you want that to be very aspirational. So some companies, especially older companies who've been around a while, they try to use a picture of like their team members or their office building. And when visitors come and see that, they don't really resonate with that. It doesn't make them feel good. It's very cold and impersonal.
When you said aspirational, what did you mean by that? What is an aspirational image?
So an aspirational image is any kind of image that you would aspire to be the people in it. So for like Anytime Fitness, you would want to see people who are working out who look like they're having a lot of fun and they're really healthy and in the prime of their life. That would be a good aspirational image for them to use.
Right. So these visuals help the message just as much as the tagline does. Like if you were to set that image apart by itself, you'd want it to convey the same emotions and feeling as the tagline does.
Exactly.
That's awesome that we tie these things together to help create a message. It's so interesting that it's not just the written word or just the visuals, but it's this harmony of the two things to create a clear and concise message.
And it makes a lot of sense because for a lot of us, we're visual learners. So when you see something, you get the most impression from what you see versus what you read.
Right.
So it makes so much sense to connect those two.
Back to the written content part of this, what's another piece of content that you can have on your website to help users pass that grunt test?
So the next thing that I would say would be almost as important as that tagline is going to be your one-liner. And for people who don't know StoryBrand, that's your elevator pitch. So it's kind of a whole summation of who you are, but in a really short paragraph that people can quickly read.
Right. In one line. Pretty
Exactly.
simple, real quickly, yeah.
Wow, it's like that's
like,
why it was named that.
That's
or something.
crazy. You did a great job naming that. If it was any longer than one line, it would have to be a two-liner or a three-liner.
Which is funny because it's usually more than one line.
It usually is, but it's clear. It's simple. It's
idea makes sense.
Yeah, it's still one line. It works. So, we've got two pieces of written content. Is there another way that you can help break up the monotony of services or listing out things and explaining what you do? Is there like a visual approach to that as well?
Yeah, so another thing you would want to do to help pass that grunt test is to use bullets or icons. And that's because a lot of people, statistically, 78% of people skim through website pages. So you want to call out the most important content in bullets or with really cool designed icons. That way when people are scrolling, they see those, it catches their eyes, and they immediately remember those important parts.
Right. People may pass over a huge paragraph explaining your authority and what you do, but to see those in a simple and concise way just real quickly, especially with icons. Icons are huge in how they can be almost as impactful as an aspirational image because you're representing the smallest pieces of what you do in a visual way that helps people get it. Yeah, bullets are great.
And you can use those for almost anything. Usually we use them for services. So if you are a business and you have like several different medical services you do or you have different types of products, you can call those out with icons and it looks really cool and people will get really quickly what exactly you do just from that.
You can also use it to not just listing services, but listing, oh my gosh, I forgot where I was going with that.
Like the benefits.
Yeah, benefits of
Yeah.
partnering with someone. Like, Oh, I had the kind of like an agreement plan type thing. You have these things that you'll get, the benefits of working with someone, or that's
Yeah.
another way to use the bulleted icon list as well.
Especially helpful for medical sites. Anything that you want really a positive feeling when people read it, to highlight those.
Right, something that people are probably searching for too, that they need to see immediately. Those are all really great tips. Do you have any other pointers that you'd like to give the audience?
I have a couple. I mean, I only had 4 in my blog, but
Let's
there.
get some bonus pointers going on here.
give
Y'all
us-
are getting like the inside scoop here, and this isn't in the blog. You got to read the blog for the in-depth on those 4 pieces, but here's some bonus content.
So another really key thing to remember is to keep everything short. Especially if you have a lot to say, you feel like you want to put it all on your homepage, you really want people to understand what you do. But when you have these long paragraphs and this really in-depth content, it's just overwhelming for people, and they're already skimming. So you're making it more difficult for them, and it's kind of the opposite of what you want to do on a homepage. You want it to be simple so they can really quickly find it out, pass that grunt test, and get them knowing whether you're the right fit for them or not.
The days of the brochure websites are long gone. That's not the approach people take to web anymore. People want to find answers quickly, and they want to know what you're doing in the most simple way that you can tell it. They don't want to read an essay. They don't want to read a brochure on your website. They want answers now. So the quicker you can get that to them, the quicker you can get a new customer.
Yeah, and another good tip is to bold content. So if you've got like long sentences that you do have to include, just bold a couple important lines in there.
Emphasis, y'all. I'm sure you've played with bolding your font and italics quite a few times. So try that out. Try to add emphasis, but don't go overboard. You don't want to bold too much, because then you kind of run into the issue where it's hard to skim and you're just seeing bold content. Don't bold whole paragraphs. Bold specific points. All right. Those are really good, Erin. Thank you for enlightening the audience today, helping us figure out how we can help our website pass the grunt test. If you want to learn more about how your website can pass the grunt test, be sure to check out Erin's blog at roionline.com. Share this video with someone you know who might be struggling with their website or marketing, or have them give us a call. We would be happy to talk with them and help them out as well. And be sure to like us on Facebook for more valuable marketing advice, and follow us on Instagram if that's your thing too. Thanks for watching.
Happy marketing!
We'll catch y'all later.